What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to From The Bench Vols. I'm your host, Will Meadows, and welcome to our Wednesday edition of the show where we have a lot of Tennessee football to talk about once again. The season is getting closer and closer and closer, man. I know I'm not the only one who can feel it. Media Day was yesterday. Fall camp starts today. So football is in the air in Knoxville, Tennessee, and we have a lot to talk about today. But before we get into any of that, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, leave a like, leave a comment, do what you will with this post. I would greatly appreciate all of the love that you guys have been showing. I would love if you guys can continue that. And I know I say it all the time, but the love that we have been getting on this show, on social media and on YouTube, all the things, I greatly appreciate it. And also, not that this matters too much, but this setup, this beautiful setup that we have started off with, big shout out to my dad who helped me build this inside of our house, will be no longer for, I guess we have this episode, Friday episode, Wednesday. So we've got, including this show, 4 more shows with this background behind us, and then we are moving in. I am moving in to my dorm over at the University of Tennessee. I'm in a very good dorm, so thankfully I have the space to continue the show. It's just going to look a little bit different. So with all that being said, let's get right into it. So like I said, Media Day yesterday, we hear a lot. Obviously, the number one thing that everybody wanted to hear is that what is the update on the situation with Boo Carter, and we hear from Josh Heupel on that. So before Media Day started, Chris Lowe from ESPN reported, he said, a lot of speculation about the future of Tennessee DB Boo Carter the last 2 weeks after he missed multiple workouts. But sources tell ESPN that Carter is not being dismissed from the team. Coach Josh Heupel will address the situation at his press conference today. Again, that was yesterday. And then Josh Heupel came on the mic, did an incredible job, as he always does, just a real football guy. And he got up there and said, Boo is a part of our team. There are some things that he has to accomplish to get back on the field. Our leadership council has been a part of those discussions with me and with Boo. So it seems like the situation obviously was very chaotic last week and things like that, but it's somewhat under control. I think it's definitely under control. And I was telling somebody this yesterday, man. Does Boo Carter need to get his stuff together? I'm not the one who can say that, but using context clues, yes, he does. But I just think that this will continue to dissolve out closer and closer to the football season when more positives are coming out about this team and it's not really the offseason anymore. I think this is just going to dissolve, and a lot of people are going to forget about this, really halfway through the year. So there's that. Again, Josh Heupel spoke on it, and a little update if you, no offense, have been living under a rock as a Tennessee fan for the last week or so. Boo Carter stopped showing up. There were reports that he got in a fight with a few teammates. He was considering himself bigger than the team, and a lot of the leadership council and some coaches were kind of fed up with it. He disappears and doesn't tell anybody, misses some workouts, and then there was rumors that he was going to be kicked off the team or him leave. So that's basically what happened, and that is no more. Again, I think that it's going to quickly dissolve the closer we get to football season starting. So Josh Heupel addressed a lot of stuff. Again, Boo Carter was the number one thing that everybody wanted to hear be addressed. But another thing that he addressed that really all Tennessee fans should really care about, it kind of seems obviously people like me, and if you're watching this show, Jermod McCoy is hurt. But kind of to the average fan, man, a lot of people don't realize that Jermod McCoy is hurt. Again, a reminder, tore his ACL working out in January. So ACL, I'm not a doctor, but if you don't know, I'm not going to pull my leg up here, but I just tore my ACL and meniscus and LCL in February, so I kind of know what that's like. It's a 6 to 8 month recovery, so we'll definitely be out of those 6 to 8 months, especially with a great athlete who has a very well-constructed body, as kind of weird as that sounds, but a very healthy athlete like Jermod McCoy. He's probably going to be close to being cleared by the 6-month mark. He may be cleared now. Josh Heupel says that there's no timetable on his return at all. Again, he could be cleared for athletic activity now, but, playing defensive back in the SEC, that's kind of a different thing that you're cleared for, if you know what I mean. I've got a buddy who's going through the same thing with me right now who tore his ACL and meniscus, and he's about to get cleared. He tore his a month before mine, so in January, kind of like Jermod. So he obviously tore his ACL and meniscus. Everybody's body is different. Again, people heal and recover quicker and slower than others. But again, I think that's going to be a thing where he might get cleared, but cleared to play defensive back in the SEC, maybe not. I think best case scenario, in my opinion, I don't think that he's going to play the Syracuse game. I'd love to see him do it. Again, if you are a returner to this show and you guys are faithfuls, I need to find a name for that. Our guy Eric Kane over on Locked On Vols, he has everydayers, so we need to find something about that. But if you are not new to this show, you know Jermod McCoy is my favorite player on the team. Him and Mike Matthews both. But worst case scenario or best case scenario, I kind of think that he wouldn't play against Syracuse, and then ETSU is kind of a weird one because it's like, why would you waste Jermod McCoy on ETSU? You wouldn't, but the next week you're playing Georgia at home, which is obviously one of the biggest games of the year and one that can really dictate your season early in week 3. So I think ETSU is kind of in the air because you can see it from the side of, oh, it's ETSU, we're not going to play them against ETSU, and completely understandable. But you can also see it from the side of, let's get him some reps against a lower opponent like ETSU and kind of get his feet back underneath him so that he can play against Georgia. So I think it'll be interesting how all of that plays out later from now, but earlier into the season, how all of that is going to end up being played out. Again, kind of a reminder, not that anybody needs a reminder on Jermod McCoy, but had one of, again, it's kind of under the radar in my opinion, just in the sense that not your average Tennessee fan does not realize how good Jermod McCoy is. I'm just being honest. I'm saying average, not to take a shot at old people here, but just kind of an old person who has season tickets, they don't really realize how good Jermod McCoy is. A guy who was one of the best defensive backs in the country last year. For Tennessee, he had one of the best defensive back seasons in Tennessee football history. And then this year, he's going to be a first-round pick in most mock drafts. Most of them have a top 15 grade on him. So a guy who's first-team All-SEC, a preseason All-American, a preseason first-team All-SEC, all the things. So just an absolute stud. He's the best player on this football team. So a guy that Josh Heupel and everybody really would love to have back in the lineup to really help grow, or not grow, but just that's DB room is so good, man. Ricky Gibson obviously returned from last year, and then they get a guy like Colton Hood from Colorado who has some experience under his belt. And then Jalen McMurray obviously has a lot of experience under his belt, played last year, played at Temple before that. So just a really very well-built cornerback room, in my opinion. Then you have Boo Carter, who's really more of a star, plays DB, plays safety. He's just flying all over the field, man. So that secondary for the Vols looks really good. Safety is a bit thin. I think safety, it might be the most, I guess, most in question position. Obviously, Andre Turrentine is a very, very experienced returner. Played the last 2 years for Tennessee, came from Ohio State. So obviously a lot of experience there, but that other safety position, Colton Hood could slide up there, Boo Carter could slide up there, but as an everyday starter, Idris Farouk kind of looks like your guy, showed some really good signs of improvement through spring ball. And then Caleb Beasley, also, they could slide up to safety. Obviously was recruited as a DB, an in-state guy, 4-star recruit, but he'll be a junior this year, or I guess a redshirt sophomore. So he could slide up there at safety. It's going to be interesting. Obviously, there was a lot of speculation around that other safety spot last year with Will Brooks. A lot of people didn't know how they felt about Will Brooks. It turned out he was pretty dang good for Tennessee last year. But between Will Brooks and between Jacoby Thomas, who is now gone, I think he's at Miami, if I remember correctly. But there was a lot of speculation at that same position last year, and it all ended up working out. So hopefully it ends up working out again this year. And then some other stuff from not SEC Media Day, from the Vols Media Day. Again, we heard from a lot of people, but one that I think a lot of people care about is what Joey Aguilar had to say. Really, unless it's an advertisement or anything like that, or him personally like on a podcast, this is the first time we've officially heard from Joey Aguilar. And one of the really cool quotes he had to say was, "The surprising part is how many people already knew who I was when I got here. I haven't even done anything for this university yet, but everyone's been so welcoming. People ask for autographs and pictures. It's just awesome here." So I think that just kind of, I mean, it speaks, and if you're a recruit, I would love you to listen to that. But, I mean, it speaks on the culture and the fans. And, I mean, they have Knoxville, Tennessee, and the University of Tennessee has the best fan base in the world. I know that's probably biased, but I really do think that the fan base here is unmatched. Obviously, you can say what you want about Neyland and all the things. Is it the loudest stadium? Me personally, yes, it definitely is. And most players would tell you it is. Obviously, Death Valley, both of the Death Valleys, and Kyle Field, they're up there. But just the fan base in general, man, it's really awesome to see just how they rally around guys. I know we talked about it on our last episode with Jake Merklinger. Just it's the way that this fan base rallied around him in such a short time, and the day of the orange and white game after Nico was gone. This fan base is just awesome, man. And then some more on Jake Merklinger. Lance Hurd in his interview said that Jake Merklinger is a natural-born leader. And again, I said that on Friday, our last Friday episode. Go check that out if you haven't already, our position group spotlight series on the quarterbacks. But it's just, I think this quarterback conversation is a little closer than people would like to think. This locker room really rallied around Jake Merklinger there for a while. I know they're all friends, obviously, but I mean, you can see on social media working out at the field with people. It just seems like a lot of these guys have Jake Merklinger as their guy, somebody that they rallied around in this offseason full of ups and downs. So obviously, leadership is one thing, throwing the football is another, but leadership is a big thing to have at the quarterback position. So again, I've been pro Joey Aguilar. I do think that Joey Aguilar is going to be the guy, but I just think it's a little closer than a lot of people think. So let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. But media day, I mean, it went well. Josh Heupel, again, sounded great. He always does. Not a man of too many words up there at those press conferences, but, I mean, gets his point across. And we'll have to see how the whole Boo Carter thing unravels and things like that. But also on the recruiting trail, Tennessee moves up, I think, to the 11th ranked team in the country in terms of the 2026 recruiting trail, as they picked up in-state recruit 4-star athlete Joel Wyatt yesterday, or 2 days ago, I guess it was. The 6'4", 190-pound athlete is an in-state guy, like I said, from Shelbyville, Tennessee. Ended up picking the Vols over the likes of Vanderbilt and Ole Miss and Oklahoma and schools like that. A consensus top 75 player in the country, and this is one of those heavy hitters that you had to get if you were Josh Heupel, one that you really felt like you had to get. With Darius Gray about to commit, it doesn't really seem like Tennessee's too much in that one. Obviously, he dropped his top 5 and Tennessee's in it, but it kind of seemed like that's more of an LSU guy, even though him and David Sanders seem to be close. But other things on the recruiting trail, like Savion Hyder is set to recruit in next month. So you really felt like Joel Wyatt was one of those guys that you had to get. The train on Tristan Keys has kind of slowed down. Not saying that he's shying away from Tennessee at all, actually. But just, as the recruiting visits slow down and social media kind of slows down on it, Tristan Keys and the Vols are still very much in on Tristan Keys. I didn't mean that to sound like they're kind of not in there anymore. But again, they stay hot on the recruiting trail. Joel Wyatt was a guy that you really felt like you wanted to have. Again, an athlete, plays receiver and DB and safety in high school right now, which, again, most of these guys play both sides, but was getting recruited at both ways by some schools. But we'll probably get his first crack at safety, I'd assume. I really think, and I kind of know that he will play safety to start unless something changes. But a real big, lanky safety, man. 6'4", 190, will definitely have to put on some weight. But just the athlete part is there for sure, and he has the build to be an incredible safety. That build almost reminds me of a Kyle Hamilton. Not saying that he's going to be Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton at Notre Dame was one of the best safeties that we've seen since 2010, or really maybe even 2000 in the game of college football, and is now probably the best safety in the NFL. So not saying that their games resemble each other, but the build for sure does. So Tennessee looks to stay hot on the recruiting trail in general. Obviously, like I said, Darius Gray and Savion Hyder are coming up next month. It's a Michigan and Tennessee battle for Savion Hyder. Again, I think Darius Gray is going to be an LSU guy, but Tennessee's definitely still there in the top 5. So we'll see how that all unravels. Just as some heavy hitters coming up, and it'll be interesting to see how all of that plays out for the Vols. But I think that is going to wrap it up for today's episode. Again, I greatly appreciate you guys joining me here on From the Bench Vols. I hope everybody has a great rest of their Wednesday or Thursday, whenever you're watching this, but today it is Wednesday. I will see you guys on Friday, and go Vols.